On the softs. On the softs is back. The Spanish Grand Prix. What a sensational race.
Phenomenal
People
race.
said it was going to be boring, and it was anything but. It was a great race. Max Verstappen, another win. I hate him. I hate this man.
All right.
They robbed Checo.
Listen, we'll get into team orders because I know my Twitter was like, I get it. So listen, though. Verstappen has issues in FP2. Everybody thought it was the end, or qualifying. Everybody thought it was the engine. I was ready to have a panic attack. But it's just like his DRS didn't deploy, which is weird. It happened during the race, too. But
happened a lot during the race.
What?
Happened a lot during the race.
Yeah.
Like he could get it and then he couldn't.
Yeah, it was weird. But like the thing that was like frustrating, it's like Crofty was on there and they're like, oh, like the car sounds different before and after the issue. It's like nothing happened with the car. Like the car's fine. Like for once we actually had something that's like semi-reliable and not an absolutely massive issue. But I think also like the no DRS, like that speaks to just like how strong the car just is flat out. You know, like if you could still chase and like hunt down the Ferraris and still have them like having a good weekend, like, you know, like right on your tail and like you're okay. I think that speaks to how strong the car truly is, especially on it's scorching Spanish Grand Prix. The track was 100 degrees or something like that. Like it was unreal. It was absolutely brutal for the cars. So I kind of feel good, to be honest. Like as crazy as it sounds. I think Monaco is going to be big, especially for Leclerc. Like looking ahead, he crashed Niki Lauda's car. We're not going to let that slide. But I think if there is a legitimate curse if he does not do well next week.
Yeah, he's going by bad luck Chuck until he wins the next race because he's never finished a race at Monaco in any of his like series, the GP2, F2, F1. He's never finished a race there. He destroyed Niki Lauda's car.
Hey, brake failure.
He's like 3 seconds ahead, and then the car just turns off for no reason.
There's more than 3 seconds ahead. He could have just chilled that whole race.
Yeah, he was just going to
George Russell
that one home.
George Russell played the ultimate defense and kept the Red Bulls behind, and then once I found out that Drake bet like $250,000 on him, it just all made sense. It all made sense. I can't believe that though. He looked so good. I mean, the race was in the bag for him, and no power. Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Absolutely heartbreaking.
What's more disappointing is if you said like before that race, Leclerc's going to crash out, and then Max is going to spin and lose like 10 seconds, and Carlos Sainz wanted to be on the podium. Like, what is Carlos Sainz doing?
Yeah, dude, what was going on with that win?
Dude, I think there's the win. That was the thing because when Carlos spun, I was like, he's just not built for this.
Yeah.
And then Max spun, and I was like, okay, all right. But Carlos he's having the worst luck out of anybody. I know everyone's been saying Lewis this, Lewis that, but Carlos is in a car that can win races, and he's not getting the results he wants.
Who's saying Lewis is having bad luck?
I mean, I think he's been having bad luck this
I think he's in a shitbox car.
Oh, he's in a shitbox car too. But then, dude, he starts this race, and what happens? Him and Magnussen touch. It just never goes his way. But it's not going Carlos Sainz's way at all either. I mean, he's just some of them are his own. I mean, it's his own fault. But this one wasn't. The car just got out on him, and he had a great recovery drive as well.
But
so
like
Max, Lewis, Carlos, and Fernando all had really incredible drives yesterday.
Mm-hmm. So, but like in the sport of Formula One, right? Like in the structure, like if me and you were racing side by side, and I hit you really bad, I throw you to the wall at Silverstone at 71 Gs, right?
Oh,
You're out of the race.
Come on with this.
But I'm not out of the race, okay? I'm just generalizing here, okay? So that happens, right? But I can still go and finish the race. I'm going to get a penalty, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But what I'm saying is this, whether it's intentional or not intentional from the Sainz case, the end result is the same of he's just not scoring points. So what I'm wondering is, my question to you, Jake, how many of these incidents like are going to compound until it's like it's just not working?
I think if Sainz like really starts blowing it this year, he won't be replaced or anything like during the year. But if he's just bad all year, it wouldn't surprise me if they try to like.
Did they extend him officially? Like, is that an official pen on paper contract, or is that still like, yeah, he's coming?
I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not 100% sure, and like the way F1 does deals, like I don't feel like anything's ironclad because.
But the only problem, I think, for Ferrari is Mick Schumacher hasn't scored a point yet.
Again, if
And
we're
he's had
talking
some
about
shitty
replacing
luck,
him,
but like if Carlos Sainz is to be replaced, what do you do? Do you call Kimi Raikkonen? Do you
Well,
call?
question: why is Giovinazzi in the paddock?
he's the
reserve
Ferrari
driver.
reserve driver.
Okay, why? That's my point.
First off, I'll tell you why. I think having him around brings in money. I think one of his sponsors is like a low sponsor on the team. He's Italian, dude. He's got connections to the team. He's their sim driver. It is what it is. Really, honestly, if we're talking, who would you replace in the Ferrari if they were going to replace Carlos Sainz? Valtteri Bottas.
I like that. I actually really like that.
That's one. Again, I would say Sebastian Vettel because I still think that Vettel. Part of me really wishes he was still with the top team because I still think he's a top driver. He's just in his shit box. But if we're going to go with that relationship severed, I just don't see him being like, yeah, I'm ready to come back. Maybe because he wants to win, but Valtteri Bottas.
I like that.
If that's like
This is like a 1 in a million chance of happening.
And then what? Sainz goes to Alpha to go die, like getting drafted by the Jags. Is that what's going to happen?
Dude, again, maybe you're just not. You're just again. I think he's still going to win a race, so I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. But I still and my big thing is for a lot of these guys who race with top teams and then go to lower teams, just go to IndyCar.
Yeah.
Just do that. I can't wait for him to be in Indy. It's coming, dude. It's just we're at that point. I'm sick of hearing Zach Brown. He's just not comfortable in the car. He hasn't been comfortable in this 2 years.
Lando Norris had like tonsillitis and was racing in like 100 and some degree weather. He was like dying in the car, and he still finished like 4 places ahead of Danny Rick.
Again, the car is built around Lando. I understand that, but I don't want to hear he's just when is he going to be comfortable with the car?
Yeah, like Monza was a good race last year, but it only happened that way because Verstappen did a kickflip on a Mercedes.
Right, but again, and again, a win is a win. So don't get me wrong, that was an impressive race, but for him because he ended up winning it. But I'm over. Like he's 30. What is he? 32, 33?
Yeah, right.
I mean, the
go race an IndyCar. Like go win races.
Yeah, I mean, he's a huge American figure, though. That's the biggest point.
That's the other thing. That's why I want him to come to IndyCar, because if he came to IndyCar, he would be huge here. Mm-hmm. Huge. He would raise that from mid-tier, everyone thinks is like a secondary to NASCAR thing, where it's not going to be the same as NASCAR, but, we're going to see more commercials, more TV coverage. Jimmy Johnson's not going to be the only IndyCar driver getting commercials, and he's like the worst one there. But I'm just on the street circuits. He's god awful. He's horrendous.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get into team orders. Let's address the elephant in the room. Here's my take. So, I think here's the reason why I'm cool with it. You could take control of the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors in one weekend, score another 1-2 weekend, another max point weekend, right? By the way, I don't think we've had a 2-1-2 weekend. I think since 2016, perhaps.
I thought you guys had one this year.
No, I'm saying two.
Oh, okay, yeah. Probably longer than that. It might have been when they were winning championships.
Yeah, like last year. So I mean, I think like getting that is huge, right? Like it's huge for team morale. It's huge after you again, like we're making this the most like fucking difficult thing ever for ourselves. Like we absolutely do terrible in qualify or terrible in practice. There's issues with the cars. We somehow do like okay in qualifying and then still like shoot ourselves in the foot there, and then like the race comes and like this magical thing happens and like we're fine regardless of all the issues that we have and everything. I think it's absolutely unreal. So
I think
it's a huge morale thing, but in this situation, to take control of the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship, and you give Max all the confidence in the world, because granted, he's probably pretty pissed this year because the car is not really where it should be, right? But I think you can solve so many issues with those like team orders, and I think that's what I'm going to say before you rip into me, so go ahead.
Well, before I rip into you, I will say I don't necessarily think they're having problems during qualifying. I just think they've realized on pure pace when they're doing single lap speed like that, they're probably not going to beat the Ferrari on pure pace in qualifying trim. So I think they're doing everything in race trim, because every time you see the Red Bulls like the second or third fastest car, you're like, oh, Ferrari looks good in qualifying, and then the race comes and the Red Bulls are the best car out on the track. I think it's a purposeful thing that everything they're doing is for points on Sunday, like you always say, points on Sunday. Sure, if you're in the front two, if you're on one, or if you're second or third on the grid, and your car is better than the car in front of you, you're probably going to win the race anyway. So I think it's more so that everything's in race trim more than it's like, we're having problems in qualifying. I think a lot of it's almost intentional.
I hate race orders in general, but I understand why Red Bull's doing it, and if they did it for Ferrari, I wouldn't be as mad. And it's like
I don't hate them. It's part of the sport. I just need to rip on AJ because it's always Valtteri, it's James. Valtteri, it's James. It's James.
It's definitely Red Bull seeing, too, that they just broke a streak of 7 consecutive years of Mercedes winning the drivers, and they have a chance to go back-to-back since the Seb years, and realizing how early it could have been locked up last year if it wasn't for a couple of shitty DNFs and, freak accidents. They're saying, just like AJ said, max every point out as much as you can every weekend and just lock it up. Don't even worry about fairness. Just get it done with.
It could be a lot worse. It could be Rubens Barrichello getting told 10 feet before the start-finish line to back off so Michael Schumacher just speed by him and take the win. At least it happened, more organically, 20 laps to go.
Schumacher was, ahead in the championship, by a margin by that time.
Yeah,
at least Verstappen got the lead now.
Yeah.
Also, Max would have passed him regardless, right? It was the whole idea of we don't want you guys to battle and possibly wreck 2 cars. Because we could, again, this is another thing where we can have a step up on Ferrari, right? So, whenever Ferrari has a bad weekend, we need to maximize points. Max had fresh tires. He probably had the quicker car, and let's be honest, he's a better driver. So, he would have won that race regardless, I would think, unless something weird happened, and, again, some weird tailwind does something stupid, and there goes Max and Checo, and then it's wait, why the hell did we let that happen? You know what I mean? I think, and this goes back to what I was saying, I just didn't really illustrate it well. We're having all these issues that we need to mitigate issues where we can. And I think that that's a prime example of that, even though there's going to be people pissed on Twitter, and you're going to hear this person and that person on TikTok, but it's the truth. We need to maximize points where we can, and, having 2 cars where we know who's a clear number 1 and who's a clear number 2, what's the point of that?
And that's another thing I was going to say. I don't know. Again, I don't know if Checo was just, angry in the moment, but that's a wake-up call. That's why you're there, man.
Yes.
That's what you're there for.
Absolutely.
If you can get the occasional win, something happens to Max, or you're really better on pace, you'll get those wins. Azerbaijan, he got that win. Happened to Max, he blew the tire. Checo won the race, but you're there to be number 2.
Yep.
That's always going to be the situation. I know he said that's not fair. I mean, you're a 2. It's not going to be fair. That's what you're there for, essentially.
Yeah. So we normally talk about Red Bull issues, as we did before. Ferrari, what's going on there?
I saw something on Twitter. They said it wasn't they were claiming the failure wasn't a design flaw or an engineering flaw. It was it just blew up. There was nothing.
Yeah, I think it was a cooling issue or something.
Yeah. There wasn't a defect in the part, and there wasn't a defect in the philosophy of all the pieces fitting together. It's just shit happens. It was a hot ass day. It happens.
So, from my understanding, the Mercedes issue was water, coolant. Right?
They're towards the end. Well, I think they were having them earlier, and during the race, and then towards the end, it was just okay, we're at a breaking point here. Stop, because I think especially, I don't know as much on Lewis's car if it was an issue, even though he did drop the pace to Sainz. I think on Russell's car, because of how much he was racing, really, him and Max were just going back and forth, him and Checo going back and forth, that he did a lot of damage. And they both just took 2 new engines, so I don't know if this is a huge issue where, it's something they could fix and keep the engine, or if they're going to be on new engines. I'm going to assume it's the former, that it's just, it was a heating issue. Because he had nobody in front of him, and he was getting the things on the dash telling him that he needed to cool down the car.
Yeah.
So, but on them, now that we're on Mercedes, they look good. They look good. They didn't look great. They look good. Yeah. I was very, 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 very happy. Early in the race, him and Lewis and Magnussen come together. You got the bad attitude thing coming in. When anything happens to anybody in life, I think we should park the car, save the engine. They talk him back into the race. Great drive. Finished 5th. George Russell, showing he belongs. That is exactly what I wanted to see. That guy is one of the best drivers in the world. Certified. I mean, that was a drive for the ages. Now, again, with Checo, it was a great battle. With Max, there was a little bit of he didn't have DRS, so he couldn't blow right by you. But seeing them being able to battle without it just being so easy to pass was so cool. Because oh my god, the seamless passing was just, that was awesome. That was probably the best part of the race. I mean, most of the race was focused on like those three cars for I want to say a good 30 minutes of the race was just that battle.
Yeah. So with Mercedes looking ahead to Monaco, right? Because that's always a big question mark. Because you're not going to be able to pass. It's all about where you qualify. Say Mercedes does fix this whole porpoising thing, brings a quick car, so they take new power units too. Like, are they going to be in the conversation next week? You think?
I think because this track doesn't have as many straights, and they had a lot of straight line speed. I think this track suits them a little more. Again, my whole take on it is, I don't think they're going to win. They're not in contention for either championship. The Drivers' Championship is certainly out. Constructors, maybe if some things happen, but that's still a shot in the dark. Mm-hmm. I think we're back on the pace where we can start maybe getting some race wins. They finally solved the porpoising issue. So now, instead of solving an issue, they can build on, these next couple upgrades that they bring throughout the season can be on improving a decent car, not improving a shitty one. They looked really good. Again, I don't know if next week we're going to be in the competition for pole. I mean, they kind of thought that they were going to be in it for this week. And the pace that Lewis had all race, even after having to take the pit stop and all that, was very eye-opening. It was good to see. So I don't want to say yes. I would say that maybe we can be competing for the second row on the grid. Mm-hmm. Second row. I don't want to go for pole because I think it's going to be Charles or Max.
So what do we think, I guess, what are the things to watch, the segue between Spain, Barcelona, and Monaco? What's the big segue there? So Ferrari, it's what actually happened with the engine, how much damage is done. I think it's a similar story for Mercedes. And for once, we don't have to talk about that for Red Bull. The goddamn wing won't open. So there is still something there. So I guess out of the three teams, really, who has the edge? Because everybody has skeletons in their closet and demons that are coming out to play. I guess, who really has that edge now going into Monaco? Would it be Red Bull because of the confidence?
Well, Red Bull won because if your only problem is the DRS wing, well, this isn't a track where that's a fucking major factor because even with the DRS wing in the one DRS zone, it's impossible to pass.
Right.
So unless it's a very big difference on speed, it's going to be tough to pass. I think it's Red Bull just based on the confidence factor. I mean, even Max was like, yeah, tough race, but we still won. Mm-hmm. So, he's finished every race he's finished this year. He's won.
Yeah.
So I mean, I still think I think it was the first race he was in second place anyway. So I still think that was going to be Charles' race, but he was going to finish second. So he's on the podium in every race, even if he doesn't have those DNFs. He's on the podium in every race.
Yeah.
So I think for him, and he doesn't make mistakes. Again, the thing with the win, that was a win thing, and that just happened. So I really think it's Red Bull going into this week. Max is hot. 3 wins in a row. Going to go for 4. Ferrari's on the back foot for sure because they had a 40-point championship lead. We were talking I was talking this is over already. I mean, it's going to be hard to come back from 40 points and for them to do it so fast with these an unfortunate Charles mistake in Imola and just bad luck. It's Red Bull's in the driver's seat, and I'd say Mercedes has the least because, I mean, they're not really playing for anything. They're kind of just playing with house money, trying to win a race.
Well, yeah, I think that's why for Monaco, I think Mercedes is ahead of Ferrari, just I think with the mentality of the teams and the drivers. Nobody has any expectations for Mercedes right now, and Leclerc has the weight of the world on him. Just finish this goddamn race, let alone win. So he's going to be pushing as hard as he can in qualifying. Will he crash? Maybe. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he binned it last year in qualifying.
I think he finishes this year. I don't know if it's on the top podium, but luck can't last for this bad forever.
And the way Monaco is, Hamilton's won there so many times, and just the way that it's not as car dependent as the other circuits. So I think he could think to himself, the car's finally in a, I wouldn't say winning shape, but contending. And last year Ferrari was a very shitty car, but in Monaco they were 1-2 in qualifying. So even Mercedes with a decent setup, and just if Lewis can do what he's done for the past 7 years, he could have a chance to stick it up there, I think.
So, Puff, you touched on one thing I thought was really, really interesting. So you said it was like the championship as a whole, right? So last year we saw how it was Max and Lewis. They were just going back and forth, and they were all
The largest point difference before you continue in that season was like 15 points the whole year.
right. So that's what I was about to say is that like this year, new car, right? Like Ferrari's way ahead now. Like Red Bull's not way ahead, but like there's these massive momentum swings like back and forth. What I'm wondering is, in your opinion, once people figure these cars out more and more and unlock more power, right, and more stability, do you think that we see the championship start to plateau and we kind of go back to that where it's like, okay, like Ferrari, Red Bull, like it's like one, like it's like like Ferrari, Red Bull, like whatever it is, right? As opposed to now where it's like Red Bull, two people on the podium, Ferrari, DNS, one car, and this and that. Like, I'm wondering if does this plateau a bit and these early races actually mean more than we think because it's going to be less of max point weekend or you get nothing? Like, are we going to see more of like that smoothing curve?
The thing is, possibly these earlier races could be more important, but I don't know if the championship's ever going to plateau this year because last year it was basically the same car as the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And really it was not the same car, but it was basically the similar car that they'd been driving since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody pretty much knew what you were getting. Mercedes, the 2020 car was like probably one of the best Formula One cars ever. 2021 was still obviously a very good car, similar to the 2020. Red Bull made major upgrades from 2020 to 2021, so it was a car everybody was familiar with. The two best drivers were the two best cars and were tearing it up. And everybody was just kind of behind. This year, I think, is different because there's a lot of things at play that are different. Guys are still feeling out the cars. The reliability is a lot different. Like last year, it was like Mercedes and Red Bull were like reliability was like almost like 99%. It was like if anything's going to happen, it's going to be because they come together or something just crazy happens in the race. It was never going to be loss of power. Oh my God, I have a blown engine. That was never the case. This year, you just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the tires are new too. So, like, what if we get to a race where Pirelli just sends a shitload of shitty tires, and we're like Azerbaijan last year was like kind of a disaster.
Yeah.
As far as they're concerned. Because that just, I don't know if other people, NASCAR, you see blown tires all the time. Like, you don't see that in Formula One. If that happens, it's like pointing the fingers at Pirelli, like, this is shit. What the fuck is the problem?
There's an investigation. It's like a whole 9 yards.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I think, I'm gonna be honest. I think I'm shocked that this early in the season, Red Bull made up a 40-point gap. So, to me now, anything is possible. What if they get out to their own 40-point gap and then some things happen to them? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to plateau. Maybe in the later stages when guys get more comfortable with the car. But then, like, how similar is next year going to be to this year? I just don't know. I just don't think you could say.
Yeah, I got it. Jake, what do you think?
I don't know. I think, like Pub was saying, it's so unpredictable. And with these cars, like, by the time some drivers get settled, like, by the time, let's say, Carlos Sainz doesn't get settled in until, like, the back half of the summer, it might be too late by then. So he might still be competing, but the gap will just be so large.
Yeah.
And that's what Puff brought up, too, that next year it'll be interesting to see what the car design becomes. Like, with the last set of regulations, by 2021 and 2020, the cars are identical, like, par a few parts. So next year,
guys
like if Ferrari
cars.
wins the championship this year, will everybody go to the scoop side pods that, like, didn't have a good car this year? Or if Red Bull wins, everybody go with the box side pods? And then that's just another point of Aston Martin, real quick, copying Red Bull like they copied Mercedes.
Did you see their tweet? Red Bull had a phenomenal tweet. It was the green can, and they were like, "Anybody need a refreshment?"
That one's crazy though because they had Aston Martin got a lot of people from Red Bull, so it's almost like did they steal stuff? Is it like is it like the 2007 scandal of McLaren and Ferrari where McLaren just stole their car?
Yeah, so that's actually a thing. Helmet said. So obviously, like Formula One is like data heavy, like no sport that's actually ever that you can see. But he said that the people that left, he has evidence that they downloaded files and took it with them.
Well, that's but again, like for people who maybe listen to us and are new to this sport, and I mean we're not new, but we're relatively new. One of the things is that when I was like getting deep into the sport was when I got into that scandal. It was like, dude, they were going after people criminally. Like, that'll be a criminal case.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where, like, if it's really bad, people are going to get arrested. If upper management in Aston Martin knew, What if that becomes a thing?
He's already insider trading. I mean, he has a million things going on. I feel like this is like
one of the things that has been rolling through my head is Otmar leaving. Now, he just said it was because they hired, can't think of his name off the top of my head, the guy who used to be Martin something, who was with McLaren in the championship days, Martin Windmarsh or something, my bad, not knowing the name off my head. What if Otmar actually left because he figured out what people at Aston Martin were doing, and he just didn't agree with it? He's like,
wow.
I'm not going to rat you guys out, because I'm not a rat, but like, what? I just don't feel comfortable, doing this to another team.
Yeah.
Part of me doesn't like being here anyway, but what if that was the nail in the coffin where he was like, I'm done here. Like, if we're doing this, I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm sorry. This is just not for me.
So
what if that's a thing?
I'm going to take that one step further. What if they didn't do it initially because the Red Bull car wasn't working? So they had this data, and they're like, let's see what Red Bull does. Red Bull goes and shits the bed the first couple races. They're like, this is trash. We don't want to use this anyway. And then now Red Bull starts putting on a clinic, and then they pull this old data back out and like, okay, actually this does work. Maybe that's why we haven't seen it till now.
The thing that was interesting to me, and I don't know if Lance Stroll meant to say this or if he kind of outed himself, he said they developed 2 cars. So did they develop one with the Red Bull technology?
That's what they're claiming. That they had this one developed since November. They're like, we just think
we'll just put that on the back burner and maybe nobody will notice, and we'll just see how our car we developed is. And then when they realized they developed a shit box again, they decided, let's implement some of Red Bull's stuff.
Wow. That's wild. I didn't know. I never put that together about Otmar. He's an OG though too. Like, he's a super cool guy. Like, they'll have him on there. I remember one of the first races this year. I forget which one, but like Ocon and Fernando were like racing, and he's like, "Yeah, no team orders. Like, we'll put on a clinic for you guys." And they're like talking to him in the paddock, but like just like watching his drivers like just like almost wreck every other turn. He's just like a spectator.
Yeah, he's like, "This is cool."
So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
That's what I mean. Maybe he just wasn't with it.
Yeah.
But back on what we were keeping on the upgrades and stuff like that. I saw one of the things too. Mercedes was actually doing basically comparing their data from the car that they ran at Spain in the test with the real side pods compared to this, and where one of the things that they were discussing if the car was actually not as good on pace as the testing car, that they might have switched back to a more standard side pod.
So I do know that Lewis said that they gave Russell an experimental product, or like he phrased it like super mysteriously, like they gave Russell something that Lewis didn't have, and apparently it worked out well, is what like Lewis alluded to.
They did experimenting with like different wing setups for like the first 4 races.
Yeah, it was something like that, and he's like, well, like we finally got this figured out now. I know like the porpoising did look a bit better as well, so I mean that's good. But yeah, what were you saying, Puff? Sorry.
No, but that was pretty much it. Just like, so I'm assuming that they're going to keep the no side pod car because it looked good this race. It looked very good.
Yeah,
I think that'll be interesting to what Jake said. I feel like this is the first year in a while where you can look at a car.
True innovation.
Yes, yeah. You can look at a car with no decals, no sponsors, no colors, no nothing, and you can be like, that's either the Ferrari or what. Like you can kind of tell, right? I'm wondering if, because Mercedes is another one that has like a very distinct car, right? It kind of looks like a UFO. It's pretty cool, actually.
Unlike anything you've ever seen.
The top 3 teams.
Yeah. So to Jake's point earlier, I'm wondering if, like, say Red Bull does run away with things, right? Is every car going to look like that? And if so, like, is that IP, like, is that intellectual property? Like, how does that work?
I think if you develop it on your own, no. If you steal it from them, yes. But, like, even if you look at the 2020, 2021 cars, like, they all kind of look remotely the same.
Yeah.
Adrian Newey says in his book, again, genius, he says his favorite time to design a car is when there's a major regulation change, because that's when you see almost the same kind of innovation that you saw in, like, the 70s, 80s, and partly the early 90s, where, like, the cars were, like, every team had, like, basically a different car. So I think this year you see these crazy different cars. I think next year you maybe see some teams try something similar to other teams, and then by the time we get to like 2026, where there's going to be, the last year till we do the new engine stuff, the cars will kind of all have like a similar, like, you'll either have it all no side pods, like every team figures out the no side pod thing, or it was like this is a disaster, side pods are a thing, and everybody has side pods. You won't have one team having none and another team having all the side pods. Like, those things will be kind of similar.
Yeah. All right, so looking ahead to Monaco, way early, hot takes, shot in the dark predictions, top 3 at Monaco. Who do we see, Puff?
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go with Verstappen, Leclerc, and Lewis Hamilton coming in at 3rd.
Wow.
I like Mercedes to be getting more consistent podiums.
I'm saying Leclerc's winning. He's getting a Grand Slam every lap, fastest lap, pole to wire to wire. I think he's doing the whole thing.
Wow.
And
just ending the curse all at once.
Yep.
Like,
And then Max takes 2nd, and then I think Lewis will take 3rd in this one, just because he's won there. It's a track for him. He's just gonna whip it. He's gonna be a lot better there than Sainz and Perez and Russell can be in their cars, respectively.
got it. All right, so I look back and I notice this thing. Every time I pick Leclerc to win, Verstappen wins. So ready? Here we go. Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz. There it is.
I like it. One thing I will say with the Grand Slam thing, that's not really like a hot take because like I feel like they pretty much all trail each other at Monaco like anyway. So like you're usually gonna do the same pit stop strategy as everybody else if you're the leaders.
Yeah, unless your front
like
left
that, though.
tire gets stuck or something. Like, like
Yeah, those are brutal. Those are
there's
brutal.
still a
interesting
million
to
things
see
that
how
could
the
happen though.
overcuts
Like
and undercuts
you
are
could.
this year.
Sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
Just with like some years the overcut's amazing at Monaco, some years the undercut works best. It'll be interesting to see with these cars. Maybe some will just be so much better with fresh air as compared to whatnot, how these pit stop strategies will play out.
What I'm really interested in is what tire compound are we going to go? Are they going to go with? Are we going to do mediums? Or are they going to do hards and just because again it's so hard to pass? Do you just do hards and try to do as long as a stint as possible and then pit? Like it's so interesting because now with the new rule that you don't have to start on the tires you use in Q2, it's really interesting. Like what is the strategy going to be here at Monaco this year? Is it going to be a long run or a medium run and a medium run? It's going to be really interesting. Lots to play for this weekend.
I think the cool thing too is we're not going to find out about that for a couple days, right? Because there's a lot of things that's going to go in like weather. I mean, don't forget like that track's a road too, right? So like, what does that look like? Because there already is a degree of rubber already ingrained in it. So like, there's a million things that can go into it. Or I mean, you could like qualify first and then crash your car.
Dude, that was tough. That was tough. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah, because Max on a pisser of a lap. Max would have took pole.
He wasn't going to take. Carlos Sainz was going to get it before. It was going to go Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen, or it was.
I can't believe I just said took
they always say that about Verstappen laps. It's always that could have been the greatest lap ever. But
Well,
Verstappen could drive into a school bus. Oh, that's the fastest anybody's ever driven into a school bus.
If he didn't crash after the third turn, that was going to be one of the best quality laps of all time.
Thank you. That's what I was just about to say. It absolutely would.
To switch gears for the last little part of this podcast, it's the greatest weekend in racing, especially in America, because the way the times all line up, it's pretty freaking great. You get Monaco at 9, 8 or 9, Indy at 12, NASCAR at 6. Woo!
It's a big one.
Big
I'm
one.
bringing a liver with me on Sunday.
Indy 500. Little Indy talk here.
Okay.
Who do you guys got? Who do we got on Sunday? Jake.
I like Tony Kanaan.
Who do you like?
Tony Kanaan. I like the experience.
Tony Kanaan. Oh, man. Dude, he looks good. He's in a Ganassi car, too. Experience. The Ganassi cars are clearly the best. Chip Ganassi's got the best cars this year. Jake, what about you?
I like Palou and I like Scott Dixon. I think Scott Dixon with that with the qualifying speed he set a message, and it's his last season, so like why not win one of 500 in your last season, even if you don't win the championship? It'll be so memorable. Like he's so motivated right now, and then Palou, I mean, he's just ripping these days. He was a champion last year. He's got a lot. People don't take him as seriously as they should. Like when they talk about drivers that could be in F1, it's always other people besides him. But he won the series. He could win on any track, so I think he has something to prove there.
One thing I will say, well, everyone talks about the other guys because they got connections. One's an American, Colin Herta. The other's like in a team that also has an F1 team. Mm-hmm. The thing about Alex Palou is second place last year. He lost to Helio, and he was close. Mm-hmm. Some of the lap traffic at the end could have affected that, but my pick is going to be the old horse, the rookie, Jimmy Johnson. I am pulling. Where is he at? He's somewhere up around here. Jimmy Johnson. Man, if he didn't have that close incident with the wall on his final qualifying run, he was up in the top 4 of almost every practice, the first qualifying sessions. He's in a Chip Ganassi car as well. I really think one of the Ganassi cars is going to win. So,
what is that, your shrine? Do you have like a piece of his hair and like his dirty sock that you have?
No,
like,
but I have an autograph card by him. I got Verstappen cards. I got Juan Pablo Montoya up there, Andretti. I got the whole boys. I got this little thing right here that we got for like $5.
Oh, wow.
Fernando.
Nice.
He's talking about not doing it again because of the aero screen. Like, quit being a pups. Get back over there. That's another thing, too. He's talking, I want to do this for 4 more years. No, I'm good. I like Fernando. Oscar Piastri should be in that car.
Yeah.
Oh, and then one quick thing. Do we think Latifi gets replaced mid-season?
I think he has to. He's a danger to himself out there.
There was like a report that leaked from a reputable reporter that he was being replaced, and then like the team walked it back, and the reporter walked it back. But it seems like Nick DeVries is going to be getting in that seat, and when he beats you in FP1, it's not a good look.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't by a small amount. I think it was like 4 seconds, I want to say.
And again, I'm sure they were doing different things with DeVries, with testing and all that stuff. But DeVries should be in that car.
Yep.
But another great pod, guys. We will see you Monday.
Adios.
Probably. Depends.
Peace out.